Is Verina just a normal girl who makes fields of flowers and who loves nature? Or is there something different about her? A hidden suffering and pain that she experiences, a loneliness, or perhaps just physical suffering? Is there a specific reason she joined the Pioneer Association and traveled so far from the new Federation, her home? Let's dive into Verina's story and discover who she really is together.
Can you hear it? Shh. That's the sound of sprouting.
Starting with her Forte, she has a congenital designation, meaning she's one of the few who was born with her Forte or had it naturally awakened in her early childhood. Her Forte is called Nature's Calling. From this, it would appear that she was exposed to botanical samples ever since her childhood, and is even able to hear their frequencies. While it's unknown when exactly she awoke, we do know that her Forte actively gets stronger and more potent with age. We also know that these plants we see on her body aren't earrings or for show. They physically grow out of her body and share a symbiotic relationship with her. They actively store resonance energy and transform it into spectro energy. So yes, this does mean that Verina is in part a plant. She also shares a strong syntony reaction with known patterns of plant life. But what about her overclocking tendencies? When it comes to overclocking, her plants actively fix her state of mind and return her to something more stable. She has a very low level of overclocking, but does have distress when away from the natural environment. She must really hate places like Tiger's Maw or New York City.
I wonder how they're growing. Hmm.
Like many characters in Wuthering Waves, Verina has dead parents. This was noted by a man named Riggs in the Pioneer Association team. She was a bit of an isolationist, and the team was worried about her due to the fact she lost her parents at such a young age. Though this does bring forth an ethical question. What age do you have to be to join the Pioneer Association? Verina can't be more than 13 years old. If you have dead parents, does an organization just pick you up if you're a resonator? It kind of makes sense since considering how dangerous some of them can get. Do the Midnight Rangers have a legion of child soldiers?
I can use some fertilizer.
During an expedition, she would end up saving the lives of certain individuals. Her expertise in poisonous mushrooms and in botany in general lead her to hold onto a pot that was filled with them, eventually resulting in a shouting match between a wildlife expert and herself. She ended up giving a lecture about the mushrooms, showing them how to figure out which ones are safe to eat and which ones are poisonous. The group laughed at her, and it almost made her cry because she thought they were laughing at her and something she got wrong. They like to call her our little botanist.
Wow, such a rare species. It's my lucky day.
The people of Jinzhou love flowers, as does Verina. However, the flowers and bouquets she would make were less about joy and more about grief and sorrow. The military often requests extra bouquets with their supplies, which often end up in her hands. The bouquets only bloom for a short amount of time, picked today and wilted tomorrow. Verina didn't understand why they needed them, nor why they needed so many, until she read the wishes of one that was attached to one of the orders. In honor of my comrade in arms, he gave his life for the peace of Jinzhou, yet his name is not known to many. Yet I still remember his heartfelt smile when he received an iris from a friend long ago. If one's name cannot be remembered, let the meaning of these flowers honor him forever. The letter resonated with Verina on a deep level, and she locked herself in a greenhouse during the night. She wanted to make a bouquet that could last beyond its natural lifespan, that if the flowers lasted longer, so too would these stories and emotions of the people last just a little longer as well.
I wonder how they're growing. Hmm.
Verina, like many people, loves her mom. This is evident by the fact she calls out for her mom whenever she gets hurt while fighting. It's also the main reason why I hate playing her. because hearing her call for her mom, due to my skill issue, makes me exceptionally depressed. However, it's her mom that got her into botany in the first place, teaching her the different patterns leaves have, even from the same tree. The same with flowers. Her mom was the reason why she would spend so long studying plants, reading about them, and doing everything she could with plants. This even applies to people, the subtle differences in people expressing the same emotions. Verina is a very empathetic person. Her mom is also dead, just like many of her early attempts at cultivation. She wasn't always a prime and perfect botanist. She of course had to go through a trial and error phase during her earliest attempts at botany. She'd often think about her mom and dad after her failures, wondering about them, or just complaining about her failure and wishing they were there to fix it or do it properly. Verina would often ask, "Is there any meaning in the work I do? Is there any meaning in the life I'm living?" The answer always came from plants, the struggling plants who still cling to life, the ones that try and still press forward. She could hear the plants sharing stories of pain and suffering, but also those of triumph, that suffering is like water that helps one bloom.
Wow, such a rare species. It's my lucky day.
Verina, of course, has friends. Chisha and Yang Yang are two of them. After working with flowers all day, Verina often strolls around the city. She remarks about the inflated prices in the new federation, at least compared to flowers. Perhaps the new federation is a mostly city location, or perhaps it's just an area that is mostly inhospitable to life. She calls her friends her sunshine, and she runs towards them whenever she sees that they're also not working. She has good things to say about Baija and Mortify as well. However, she often feels that Mortefi is pushing himself too far because whenever she checks on the plants at night, she can still see his lab lights on. And of course, we have Encore, who both have a positive view of each other, especially since Verena had to stop her from eating a poisonous mushroom once, which I'm sure many of you remember. Though, unlike Encore, Verena might not be too fond of Uncle Alto. You see, Verena once hired Alto to find out where her parents were. Alto asked for a flower that wouldn't wilt, and she replied saying it's a natural part of life, that eventually they wilt. Alto replied saying it's the exact same thing for humans. That's not exactly what you'd want to hear, but I'm sure deep down she always knew it. She also thinks that Calcaro is awesome because despite his appearance, he gave her flower seeds that were all exceptionally rare species, each a different one. He also finds her skills in botany quite impressive. Perhaps Calcaro isn't such a bad guy after all.
Can you hear it? Shh. That's the sound of sprouting.
Verena often goes around just watching different plants blossom and bloom. Apparently her investment is so intense she rarely notices people, including Rover. Speaking of Rover, she bonds with the Rover over their shared travels. Not necessarily traveling together, but in the sense that they've both traveled far and wide, from different country to different country. She has a very difficult time talking about something that's not plant-related. Even if it's food, she'll talk about the plants within the food, such as mushrooms in a mori pot, for example. She also drinks a lot of milk because of her mom, and says that it's what happiness tastes like. Well, she's clearly never had an ice-cold Dr. Pepper, but milk is a close second, so I'll give her that. Though, apparently, she's doing some research into plants that can have a calming effect on tacit discords. Perhaps in the future, we will all carry a flower in our hair that repels or calms tacit discords. I'm sure a Threnodian will be born from flowers that turn them against us, so let's scratch that idea. In case you were feeling happy today, here are Werena's hit, injured, and fallen voice lines.
Mommy! Watch out! Oh! I can use some fertilizer. I'm just low on fluids. Now I'm super dehydrated. Time to hibernate. Withering, is natural to life. My dreams, I haven't. Mommy!
But what do you all think about Verina, the
Wow,
world's most
such a rare
depressed
species.
botanist? How do
It's
you
my
feel
lucky
about what
day.
Uncle Altoid said to Verina about her parents? More importantly, do you think Verina will have some role with Calcaro in the new Federation? They are from there after all. As for me, I hope she can make it so Pollen doesn't hospitalize me, and I'm not exactly sure which is right. Her name is based on Verina, which is a Latin word for true, but it's spelled with an I, so I'm not entirely sure if it's Verina or Verina. However, it's time for me to go hit the books and study up some more Latin, and I'll see you all in the next video.